Welcome to the Deep Dive. You're tuning in because you want to get a solid understanding of important topics without getting lost in a sea of information. And that's exactly what we're here to do for you.
And today we're taking a deep dive into zero liquid discharge, or ZLD systems. It's a term that's coming up more and more as industries grapple with sustainability.
Right, sustainability and environmental responsibility.
Yeah.
So ZLD, what does that actually mean practically?
Well, think about it like this. Industrial facilities aiming to completely eliminate liquid waste.
Completely eliminate.
Yeah, the goal is basically 100% water recovery for reuse, and then you're left with just solid waste for disposal. No wastewater discharge.
Okay, zero liquid going out.
Yeah.
Got it.
And why this matters? Well, it's really reflected in the global market for these ZLD systems. We've got a recent report, and our mission today is to pull out the key insights for you.
So market size, growth, who's using them, what's driving it, that sort of thing.
Exactly. We'll get you up to speed on the current state and, the future potential.
And it sounds like it's already a pretty significant market. The report estimates it at, what, USD 824.6 million in 2025?
That's the number. Over $8 billion.
But the really eye-opening part for me is the projection. It's expected to nearly double.
That's right. Projected to hit USD 604.14 million by 2033.
Wow. That's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 8.00% between 2025 and 2033.
Yeah, 8%. So clearly, like you said, not just some niche trend. It's a big deal.
Definitely not. Growth like that needs some strong drivers.
Yeah.
So let's maybe unpack the overall market dynamics first. What's really pushing this demand?
Well, a really big piece is just the increasing demand for sustainable water management across, all sorts of industries.
Makes sense. Businesses are feeling the pressure to use water more responsibly. It's a finite resource.
Absolutely. And that ties right into growing public concern. People are worried about water scarcity, environmental damage from wastewater.
You see it in the news more and more.
And awareness is definitely increasing.
And then there are the rules, right? Regulations must play a huge part.
Oh, absolutely. Strict environmental regulations are a key driver mentioned in the report. Governments are tightening discharge limits, which, well, it pushes industries towards solutions like ZLD.
Kind of forces the issue in some ways.
It does. So you've got sustainability goals, public pressure, and regulations all pointing the same way. But it's not all smooth sailing. The report does highlight some challenges.
Okay. What are the main hurdles?
Well, one thing is complexity. Industrial processes vary a lot, right?
Sure.
So ZLD systems often need custom designs. They have to handle really diverse waste streams. It's not, an off-the-shelf solution usually.
Right, not plug and play. That sounds expensive.
And that's the other main restraint mentioned, the high cost. These systems represent a pretty significant capital investment.
Okay, so complexity and cost are potential brakes on adoption.
Yeah, they can be. But despite that, the momentum is there. And there are a couple of interesting trends the report points out.
Oh yeah, like what?
One is a growing focus on energy efficiency within ZLD, trying to make these systems less power hungry.
Which makes sense for costs and, overall green credentials.
Exactly. And the other trend is just ongoing technological improvement. The tech itself is getting better, more efficient, maybe eventually cheaper.
Constant innovation. Okay, so that's the big picture dynamics. Let's zoom out a bit. Where is this happening geographically?
Regionally, North America currently holds the biggest piece of the pie.
Okay.
Over 40% of the market share in 2025. That translates to about USD 3,006.10 million.
And the growth there.
Projected CGR of 7.0%, reaching over $5 billion, USD 549.4 million by 2033.
So still solid growth. And within North America, the U.S. is the major player.
Yeah, the U.S. market is estimated at roughly USD 371 million in 2025, growing at about 6.8%. Canada and Mexico are smaller, but growing a bit faster, actually 7.8% and 7.5% CGRs, respectively.
Interesting. What's keeping North America in the lead for now?
Well, a couple of things. They have a large industrial base, obviously, and they've generally had stricter environmental laws in place for longer, pushing industries towards ZLD earlier, perhaps.
Okay. But you mentioned other regions might be catching up.
Yeah, the growth rates elsewhere are higher. Europe, for instance, holds the second largest share.
How much is that?
Over 30% of global revenue, about USD 21,356 million in 2025.
And their growth.
Projected at 7.5% CAGR, reaching around USD 413 million by 2033. So also quite strong.
Any standout countries in Europe?
Well, Germany's market is the largest in 2025, around USD 466 million, growing at 7.7%. But the UK actually has a slightly higher projected CAGR, 8.3%, from a base of about USD 396 million.
Okay.
And you've got significant markets in France, Italy, Russia, Spain, too. It's pretty widespread.
And the drivers in Europe, similar to North America.
Largely, yes.
Wow.
A big focus on sustainability, very stringent EU regulations. It all pushes towards minimizing industrial water waste.
Right. Now, you mentioned faster growth elsewhere. Where's the real hotspot?
That would be Asia Pacific or APAC.
Okay.
They hold around 23% share currently, roughly USD 1950 million in 2025. But the projected growth is really striking.
How high are we talking?
A CAGR of 11.3%, expected to reach almost USD 4.6 billion by 2033.
11.3%. Wow, that's significantly faster.
It really is. China's a huge part of that, with a market over USD 800 million in 2025 and growing at 10.8%.
In India.
India's projected GTR is even higher, actually 13.2%, from a smaller base around USD 195 million, but that's incredibly rapid growth.
13.2.
Yeah, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Southeast Asia, they're all showing double-digit or near double-digit growth, too.
So what's fueling this boom in APAC?
It's kind of a perfect storm. Rapid industrialization, massive urbanization.
Creates more wastewater issues.
Exactly. Plus, you have governments, particularly in China and India, actively supporting greener technologies and water conservation. It creates strong momentum.
Yeah, APAC's definitely the one to watch for growth. What about the other regions? South America.
South America holds just over 5% market share, around USD 309 million in 2025, but growing quite fast too, at a 9.2% CAGR.
Still faster than North America or Europe. Brazil and Argentina, the main players.
Yes, Brazil's the largest market there, projected at 9.8% growth. Argentina's slightly higher at 10.1%. Increasing industrial activity, mining, oil and gas, plus a growing focus on sustainability are key.
Gotcha. And the Middle East, I imagine water scarcity is a big factor there.
Absolutely. They hold around 2% market share, about USD 325 million in 2025, but growing strongly at 9.8% CAGR.
So nearly 10% growth.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia and the UAE are leading the way, both with CAGRs over 10%. In such an arid region, ZLD for water reuse, especially in oil, gas, and petrochemicals, is, well, it's almost essential.
Makes total sense.
And finally, Africa.
Africa has the smallest share, around 1%. That's about USD 179 million in 2025, but still growing at a healthy 8.8% CAGR.
So growth is pretty strong across the board, really. South Africa, the main market there.
Yes, South Africa accounts for a significant portion, growing at around 9.7%. Again, the drivers are that fundamental need for water security and better wastewater management, particularly in mining and industry. It's fascinating how those core issues, water scarcity regulations, play out globally, just with different intensities and starting points. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the different types of ZLD systems themselves?
Right. The report looks at system types and the underlying technology. So for system types, conventional ZLD systems are expected to hold the dominant share,
Conventional meaning.
primarily using evaporation and crystallization. Think of it like boiling off the water to concentrate the salts and then getting those salts to form crystals you can remove.
Okay, the traditional formal approach.
Exactly. And it's very effective, especially for wastewater with really high levels of dissolved solids.
But the report mentioned hybrid systems are growing fastest.
Yes, that's the fastest growing segment. And the reason is largely about efficiency.
Lower energy use, lower costs.
Precisely. Hybrid systems aim to reduce energy consumption and operational costs by combining different technologies.
How so?
They often integrate membrane technologies like reverse osmosis or forward osmosis, which are essentially superfine filters, with thermal processes. So maybe you use membranes to remove a lot of the water first, leaving a smaller, more concentrated stream for the energy-intensive evaporation step.
Optimizing the process. Using the best tool for each part of the job.
Kind of, yeah. It reflects that engineering trend of combining approaches for better overall performance.
Makes sense. So that's conventional versus hybrid. What about the core technologies themselves? Thermal versus membrane.
Right. Thermal-based technology, as we sort of discussed, currently holds the largest market share.
The evaporation and crystallization part.
Exactly. Using heat to drive off water, leaving solid residues. It might involve multiple stages, often ending with a crystallizer. It's really good for high-salt, wastewater, power plants, chemical industries.
And the alternative is membrane-based.
Yes, and that segment is expanding rapidly. This includes technologies like reverse osmosis, RO, nanofiltration, NF, ultrafiltration, UF.
Different levels of filtration, essentially.
Basically, yes. They use membranes with varying pore sizes to physically separate water from contaminants. RO can even remove dissolved salts.
And the advantage there?
Generally, lower energy use compared to thermal methods, and often a smaller physical footprint. They're great for wastewater with lower concentrations of dissolved solids.
But maybe not ideal for the really tough, salty stuff.
They can have limitations with highly concentrated brines, yes. Sometimes they're used as a pre-treatment before a thermal stage in those hybrid systems we talked about.
Okay, so a technology toolkit, and you pick the right tools or combination of tools for the job.
Pretty much sums it up. It depends heavily on the wastewater characteristics.
All right, so we know the tech, we know where it's growing. Who are the main industries actually using these ZLD systems?
The biggest end-use sector right now is chemicals and petrochemicals.
Not surprising given the wastewater challenges there.
Right. Strict regulations hit them hard, but also there's sometimes an opportunity to recover valuable byproducts from the waste stream using ZLD.
Turning waste into value.
Potentially, yeah. The pharmaceutical industry is another major user, dealing with complex effluents.
And the report highlighted food and beverage as growing fast.
Yes, that's a sector showing particularly rapid growth and adoption.
Why is surge there?
Well, increasing scrutiny on their water footprint, for one. Water is obviously crucial for them.
Absolutely.
So ZLD offers a way to improve sustainable water management, meet regulations, and importantly, recover and reuse water within their plants. That can mean real cost savings, especially for large operations.
Yeah, I can see that. Any other major sectors?
Energy and power is significant, especially coal plants with flue gas desulfurization wastewater. Textiles, too, notorious water users and polluters.
Right.
And then there's a category for others, covering various industries with specific wastewater needs adopting ZLD.
So a really diverse industrial base driving this market. Okay, last piece. The companies involved. Who are the key players?
It's a competitive landscape, as you'd expect. You've got big global players and some regional specialists. The report names several leaders.
Like who?
Companies like GEA Group, Aquarian, H2O Innovation, IDE Water Technologies, Mitsubishi Power, Veolia Water Technologies. These are some of the major names.
Companies with broad expertise in water treatment and these complex systems.
Exactly. They usually offer comprehensive ZLD solutions from design to implementation.
And the report mentioned some recent activity.
Mm-hmm.
Deals, planned openings.
Yeah, a couple of examples just illustrating market movement. SUZ signed a consulting deal in February 2024 for a water treatment facility in Jakarta.
Jakarta, okay. Highlights that APAC growth again.
It does, and Veolia Water Technologies inaugurated its first regeneration plant in China back in May 2024.
A regeneration plant. What's the significance there?
It allows them to regenerate materials used in water treatment processes locally, expanding their service offerings in China, a key market. It helps serve industries like food and bev, power, microelectronics, petrochemicals right there.
So strategic moves reinforcing their presence in high-growth areas.
Seems that way, yes.
Okay, great. That gives us a really comprehensive picture. Let's try and boil it down. What are the main takeaways for someone listening?
I think the first thing is just the sheer scale and growth. We're talking an $8 billion market heading towards over $15 billion by 2033. That's significant.
Definitely. And the regional story, North America leads now. But watch out for APAC's really rapid expansion driven by industrialization and policy.
Right. And underpinning all of this are those core drivers: stricter environmental rules, genuine concerns about water scarcity, and that broader push for industrial sustainability.
Those forces seem pretty locked in, don't they?
They do. Then there's the technology mix. Conventional thermal methods still dominate, but hybrid systems combining thermal and membrane tech are gaining ground fast because of efficiency.
Efficiency being key. And finally, the industry's chemicals and petrochem are the biggest users, but food and beverage is a rapidly growing segment to keep an eye on.
Exactly. So putting it all together.
The aha moment, maybe. Is it seeing how these big global trends, industrial growth, environmental pressure, resource scarcity, all funnel down into driving this specific ZLD market? It's not just about compliance. It's becoming a core part of resource management.
I think that's a great way to put it. It really connects the dots between those big global pressures and specific technological adoption.
Yeah, it fundamentally changes how industries have to think about water.
Which leads to a final thought, perhaps, for our listeners to mull over.
So for it.
Well, given this intense focus on sustainability and resource management and the innovation happening in ZLD, How might these technologies impact more than just industrial wastewater?
Meaning,
Could the advancements here, the drive for ultimate water recovery and efficiency, could they offer lessons or even direct solutions for broader water challenges, like municipal water stress or agricultural water use?
interesting. Could ZLD principles leak out into other areas facing water scarcity?
Maybe. Could achieving truly zero liquid discharge in industry inspire or enable new approaches to water management on a wider scale? It's definitely something to think about for the future.